Hello there, once again, here on the old Driving You Crazy podcast, where we talk about what's driving you crazy when it comes to driving and transportation and roads and basically anything that gets you from here to over there.
Yes.
I am the traffic anchor for Denver 7 News every weekday morning from 4:30 till 9. Well, I guess I'm technically all the time, but anyway, that's the time we're on the TV. My name is Jason Luber.
I am pedestrian advocate Joseph Peters, never on TV, always in your ears on this podcast. Ran a half marathon over the weekend.
You did?
I did. All roads closed down from Evergreen to Morrison. They had them down to one lane, and you just followed the roads. I have no idea what roads they were, but they were gorgeous, man.
You actually ran the whole time?
Yeah.
Really?
Under 2 hours for this half marathon, man, which is not much to some of you professional runners
now,
out
how
there.
long is it? How far is that?
13 miles.
13 miles in 2 hours.
Yes.
So that's average, what, 6.5 miles an hour? If you did it in 2 hours?
That's correct.
That's a pretty good pace.
I was
because
very proud of
I
myself.
usually walk at about 3.5 miles an hour.
Do you notice?
Which is a pretty good walk.
I don't know if you noticed this with Google Maps. They map you as though you're going like 2.7 miles an hour. So you always arrive, if you're a fast walker like one of these tall guys that does this podcast, you get to your destination a little bit faster than Google Maps predicts.
See, I had to do, when I was going through my Forest Service, my Colorado State Forest Service wildfire training classes, there was something called a pack test. And you have to take a pack, a wildfire backpack, put it on your back, 45 pounds on it, and you have to walk. You cannot run or jog. You have to have at least 1 foot on the ground the whole time as you're going. And you go 3 miles, and you have to do it in under 45 minutes. And I did it in like about 42 minutes, and my shins were screaming at me. And some of the firefighters were getting mad because I was beating them. Here comes some press, radio guy.
Didn't realize you
them.
Passed the firefighter test, Jason.
Yes, I am actually a certified wildland firefighter through the Colorado State Forest Service.
Still, how long does that certification last?
It's probably expired at this point.
Okay.
And could I do the pack test now? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not.
Follow the Driving You Crazy podcast as we do the pack test.
As I try to relive my glory days. Yeah, right. And the Twitter messages from last week have pretty much stopped.
Perfect.
That's good. After the whole Street Blogs episode, and I did receive a couple late ones last week, but they were pretty much in the same vein, calling me bad names, waste of space, that sort of thing. But I think it's pretty much over. But obviously, the big story of the week here, Joseph, is the shooting of the Uber driver.
Yeah, the shooting by the Uber driver.
By the Uber driver of his passenger. And the story, as I understand it, is that this Uber driver, he was going south on I-25, our Interstate 25 in the south side of Denver, right near University Boulevard. As he says it, I think, he gets attacked, and then he pulls out a gun, shoots the passenger 10 times or so, and the passenger dies. They take him to the hospital, and they pronounce him dead there. And then the driver was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. And that is what piqued my obviously the whole story is interesting. However, being charged with first-degree murder, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm no legal expert. However, isn't first-degree reserved really for premeditation? Like a premeditated, you are thinking about, I want to kill this person, and that's first-degree murder?
Yeah, but at the same time, prosecutors usually overreach, I would say, in this phase of the game because you wind up actually pursuing lesser charges.
I mean, why wouldn't it be a second degree or a manslaughter
it could
or
get there.
something, or you think that they're starting off high and they're going to plea bargain lower?
Well, I think that this prosecutor thinks that this guy will be willing to take a deal for a manslaughter or something like that. And I also think that he's underestimating the Uber driver because I think this Uber driver understands that he has the backing of the Uber community and may think that he can win at a jury trial. And I think he might be right. I mean, it would be easy to get a jury to sympathize with them enough to have reasonable doubt about whether it was self-defense or semi-premeditated.
Obviously, the dead person can't tell his side of the story. Both people are basically leaving the passenger who died, leaving a family behind. The Uber driver has a family, I think a couple of kids and a wife. in Aurora out there, I think.
Correct.
And he's been working and going to school. I mean, he seems like a pretty upstanding person.
Well, he seems like your average Uber driver who carries a gun for protection for exactly the reason that he may have been acting in self-defense in this case.
But don't you think that if you have to have a job where you have to carry a gun, that the job is inherently dangerous, and maybe you should be paid a lot more for what that danger is? And I don't think you're actually getting those returns as an Uber driver. So why would you want to be an Uber driver when the returns aren't that great and your life is obviously in possible great danger enough to carry a gun and defend yourself?
What I mean, this is one case out of however many, right? And I think, some jobs are just going to be low paying, even when they carry an inherent level of danger. And, I think these robberies or attempted robberies and stuff make us overthink what danger is, right? Because if you worked at, say, a 7-Eleven or a bank or a liquor store or one of these places, right? I mean, you're at a higher risk, I would say, for being robbed than other people, and you may feel safer carrying a gun, but that's not a requirement of the job. And it's the same thing for an Uber driver. Like, you may feel safer carrying a gun, but it's not a requirement, and it's certainly not a certainty.
It's obviously against their bylaws or their regulations or whatever you want to
call
them.
Well, that's their problem.
Their policy.
And they should probably fix that.
Well, they're not going to say ever that you're allowed as a driver to carry a gun. They're never going to condone that. Ever as a company, because that would make them liable. It's everything that you see in one of those policies or whatever. It's always because of lawyers, and they're always thinking of all the outcomes that could come around.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it doesn't matter how you write your policy; you're still going to be liable. Like, somebody's still going to pursue the case; they're still going to try to get the money out of the company.
And do you think the victim in this case, the passenger, is going to go after Uber, the family?
Oh, certainly, but I think we're never going to your point, know the circumstances of the case well enough.
Right.
I mean, what can we... I know there are forensics and things like that, but at a certain point, the only person who survived this is the driver. We're pretty sure he did not have a dash cam pointing back at him. What do we know?
Exactly. And the only other witness was somebody that was driving along this ramp coming from University to get onto I-25, who stopped because he saw this car crash into the wall after the shooting happened, and he wasn't really paying attention to driving anymore. And then that person helped call 911 and get the police out there.
Well, and here's the evidence that we both need to keep an eye out for. You want to look at how the gunshot went in and came out, right? Because it could indicate some sort of a struggle beforehand. If this passenger is on top of the guy and is shot from that angle, that's a different story than if it's like a bullet to the head.
Or if there's forensics with maybe gunshot residue on the passenger's hand.
Yes, but what I'm most interested in is cell phone records, right? Because you figure this guy must have texted somebody in the immediate aftermath, and what was his demeanor like in those moments? We'll find that out in the way that we won't find out a phone call or a dash cam.
There are some strange goings on here. And so I'm sure all this will be coming out. It's going to be interesting to follow it. We'll follow it here on the podcast, but this is one that's definitely, we're going to follow it as the newsroom and also follow it on the podcast.
Yes.
Another big story is now that the Colorado governor signed this big legislation, this monster transportation bill that allows for a lot more money to be poured into our state transportation system. The federal government has now sent some money our way as well to do some highway widening projects and some express toll projects.
I was going to say, express toll projects.
Exactly. And you know, the thing that bugs me about this most of all is this widening project south of Denver between this town called Castle Rock and all the way down to Colorado Springs. So in order to get the money to widen the highway, the plan was to do this express lane where you can pay the toll to use the lane if you have three or people, and it depends. I don't think they're going to let the 3 HOV people. I think it's going to be a toll lane like the one on C470 all the time. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, the condition for the federal grant of like $90 million to come to that project was it had to be a toll lane. It could not be a free general purpose, everybody can use it for no money lane.
Do we have any indication if there's a sunset on the toll lane, like with some of the other ones around Colorado?
No, I haven't seen the final workings on that. But, you know, and then the plenary roads people who manage the I-25 one up north and Highway 36, they want to have the toll. Right now we talked about this.
Yes.
We talked about the tolls in some parts of the country that have no cap on how high they can go. They want to remove our cap. They want to be able to go as high as we can go.
Good.
They want to see $50 toll lane prices.
Right. Your tax dollars paid for a $50 toll lane.
There you go.
Good work, Colorado.
It's just so annoying. Anyway, and the other big story here around town is that we still have a problem with peacocks on the loose.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I think there are still 2 out there unaccounted for.
I think there's one. The other one might have died.
Well,
R.I.P.
one definitely
peacock.
did die.
Yep.
At least here in town. I think there were 2 that were last reported on the loose.
Really?
One might have come back,
Okay.
they say, but it's not like they have name tags like, "Hi, I'm Stan the Peacock." You think peacocks have
They don't.
They
don't have those.
They don't have
Okay.
that. They don't have the little pin with their badge on it that says, "Hi, my name is Stan." So 8 of the peacocks that just roam around the Denver Zoo got loose because they don't really corral. I mean, they just walk around the zoo, and they can fly. People don't think peacocks can fly. They don't really fly like a duck or a goose fly long distance, but they can fly up into the tree.
When you hear about other animals escaping, it's one of them. It's one tiger. It's one lion. But these peacocks were moving as a group, man.
Yes.
This is why everybody should be terrified of birds, because it's not one bird attacking you. It's 10 birds attacking you.
And that means it could have been a bachelor party. But one of the participants
Yes.
was hit and killed on a road right near the zoo.
That happens at every good bachelor party.
Yeah, it does. You're right. I mean, you've seen The Bachelor. But this is not an isolated incident, which is really strange because there were 4 peacocks that wandered out of the Philadelphia Zoo, and one of them was hit and killed on the interstate right near the zoo. And police had to close lanes of traffic to investigate it, to clean it up, and they caused a huge, I guess, traffic jam in Philadelphia for miles and miles of miles. Now, I've heard from the staff at both zoos and that these birds, sometimes they venture past the gates, but normally they just come on back on their own. They apparently have some kind of homing sense like a pigeon, and they say it's unusual for them to travel very far outside the zoo.
Interesting.
Now, zoo officials have asked people not to approach a peacock if they see it on the loose because they may be nervous being out of their normal environment. I don't think it's actually safe approaching them even in their normal environment. Have you actually seen those things at the zoo? They're feisty.
Yes.
They're loud.
No, I'm good.
They make this horn-like sound.
Have we talked about this? I don't like birds.
It's quite disturbing.
Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, no birds at all.
No birds at all.
Hummingbirds.
Our old producer Brittany had birds. I don't understand how you live like that.
My wife loves the hummingbirds.
Get out of here.
Oh, we have the hummingbird feeder. We have little plants in the backyard.
I don't mind that, and I don't mind listening to birds. I just don't want them anywhere near me.
Yeah. Peacocks on the loose. If there was a bounty, I'd go out looking for it. So, Joseph, I have 3 stories of flights that had to land early because of bad passengers.
Are we doing another power rankings?
It's kind of that way, yes.
Yes. Okay.
However, I think these are in a well. Anyway, I'll go through these and you decide which is worse. All right. A Delta flight from Portland, Oregon to Atlanta was diverted to Tulsa after a passenger was singing and dancing in his seat. The flight crew reported a disturbance with a passenger and requested law enforcement help. One passenger said the man was singing and dancing in his seat and ignoring flight attendants' orders to quiet down. He refused to stop even when approached by multiple flight attendants, so the pilot made an emergency landing. Delta said the unruly male passenger was detained by airport police and questioned by the FBI.
Don't we think they're underselling it if they just say he was singing and dancing? He must have been doing a lot more than just singing and dancing to cause an emergency landing.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And he was probably drinking. Story number 2. A Southwest flight made an emergency landing at San Jose International Airport due to passengers smoking in the bathroom. The flight was going from San Francisco to Los Angeles when the pilot reported a mechanical difficulty, air quotes there. The difficulty, Southwest explained in a statement, was a passenger who appeared to be smoking in the lavatory. The airline said it turned the alleged smoker over to authorities. So I guess those smoke detectors really do work.
Well, he's an alleged smoker, so it's entirely possible that the smoke detectors did not work and that he was not smoking on the plane. First of all. Second of all,
Really?
I mean,
Well,
probably
I guess you're
not.
right. Allegedly, I guess it's all alleged.
Second of all, everybody out there should check out George Carlin because he did a whole bit about how to smoke on an airplane without getting caught.
He did?
He did.
How did he explain that? I love George Carlin.
It's something about using the drain as a vacuum to take the smoke out.
Oh, I got you.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah. He's also the one that says you get in the plane, not on the plane.
God bless him.
If you get on the plane, then it's going to be quite windy out there. You want to get inside the plane. All right, here's story number 3. A Transylvania Airlines flight was diverted to Faro. That's not Fargo, North Dakota. This is Faro, Portugal.
Okay.
After a man's body odor caused passengers to vomit. The flight from Gran Canaria? Anyway, it's a little island that's off the coast of Africa. It belongs to Spain. So they were flying from there to Amsterdam, and it diverted to Faro, that's in Portugal, after a crew tried to quarantine the man into the lavatory. Travelers became distressed by the stench of the man who, quote, smelt like he hadn't washed in weeks, unquote. One of the passengers on board the plane described the stench of the man as unbearable. The man smelt so bad, other passengers started to faint and vomit as the flight took off. I don't think smelt is a word. I think it's a fish. The crew tried to quarantine that man in a bathroom before the pilots were forced to divert the flight, and once they landed, the foul-smelling man was removed. It's probably as early as they could land because they have this island out there, and then they...
It's not him that's funny about this story. It's the reaction of the person vomiting that's funny. Like, the vomit is much funnier than any other part of that. But you had him ranked correctly. I mean, I think singing and dancing number 3, smoker number 2, and
the smelly
rancid
guy.
man number 1.
Yeah, rancid man number 1. And I always ask my little girl, Jolene, my 6-year-old, I said, Jolene, how do you spell barf? And she goes, P-U-K-E, pukey. I'm like, okay.
I just want you to know I'm thrilled that we're doing a vomit portion of the podcast today. I also want to tell you that after this half marathon, we took a bus back to the parking area, Bandamere Speedway, and outside of the bus parking, this woman was, just vomiting her brains out, man. It was all liquid. Just power puking over and over again into the ground.
Was she a runner?
She was a runner. We had finished the race. We're back at the parking area, and she's just puking, and everybody on this bus is watching her, and we're all laughing about it. And, I don't know if that's a bad reaction to vomit or not. That's just how I feel when I see it.
Puking is kind of funny.
And, Survivor and Fear Factor and shows like that, I can watch most of the vomiting segments on those.
Well, Singapore Airlines say they're going to have the world's longest commercial flight soon, starting in October. A nearly 19-hour nonstop journey from Singapore to New York. The 8,200 nautical mile flight from Singapore to Newark will eclipse the 7,843 nautical mile flight from Qatar Airways that they fly from Doha to Auckland. That's right now the world's longest nonstop flight. Now, airlines including Singapore Airlines, Australia's Qantas, and United are adding ultra-long flights that can charge an ultra-premium fare of about 20% more than regular fares versus, having those stop flights that you have to stop maybe along the way. Now, Qantas said it's considering a nonstop from Sydney to London starting in 2022. That would be about 1,000 miles longer than this other flight between New York and Singapore. Singapore Airlines also plans to introduce nonstop flights from Singapore to Los Angeles, and they can do this because Airbus has this new airplane that they say is really good at going long distances, really fuel efficient, and can fly that far.
What's fascinating about this to me, Australia is a gem, right? It's one of the greatest countries on earth. And it's so hard to get there, and you would understand why the country's national carriers would be pursuing these long-haul flights and trying to introduce more of them because that's how they're going to expand their reach. They're not like a Denver where you have all these American cities that you can gain access to. To get to Australia, you're going to fly a long way, and if you want an easy way to get there from, say, New York City or Boston or any of these cities in America, you're going to have to pursue flights that are longer than just your typical American puddle jump. jumpers.
And see, it's easier when you're going from, let's say, New York or somewhere in the North American area, let's say the East Coast somewhere, to, let's say, Japan, because you're actually going mostly almost over the North Pole.
Yeah.
You're going that way.
Yeah.
But to get around to Australia, you have to go all the way around the wide part of the globe. So you have to. So people think of it just going like you're driving, you're going all flat. Well, obviously, there's a curve to the Earth,
Yep.
and you have to deal with the curve. And so it can make for those longer flights. Now, they can use the curve to their advantage for some flights, but not for the ones going down to Australia.
God, what a terrifying thing to think about. Like, just flying around the curve of the Earth from New York to Australia.
And then going over the international date line and all that. I mean, that's got to mess up your body. I mean, you're on a plane. How do you deal with being on a plane for 19 or 20 hours?
Well, you can do it the slow way and take a boat.
Yeah, I'd do that.
Okay.
In a big time.
Follow the Driving You Crazy podcast as we boat around the world.
And from time to time, the DOT, like here in Colorado and in other states, they put up these messages on their overhead boards that are pretty funny. Like one example is get your head out of your apps, APPS.
I got it.
So what they want to do is they want to make their point about driving safely, and they want to do it in a humorous way. So in Maine, the DOT there asked for residents to submit traffic or driving safety messages that could potentially go up on their overhead boards. And so now they have unveiled some of the winners of their highway message board contest. There were almost 2,000 submissions. Only 6 were picked. Here are the top 6 answers.
All right.
Number 1, spend money on lobsters, not speeding tickets. And yes, it's spelled Lobstahs, lobsters.
That's so Maine. Ugh.
Is that how they? Because I know they talk like a Boston. That's what I would think a Bostonian would say.
That they're right.
Why don't you give it? Because you're from that part of the world.
Lobsters.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. And you'll have to do this because the next one is how about a cold supper is better than a hot ticket. All right, you do that one.
A cold supper is better than a hot ticket. That's Maine.
Okay. And really, it's spelled that way. Supper and better. All right. Here's number 3. Put down your cell, or you may end up in one.
See, that's a little aggressive. We go from talking about lobsters and suppers, and now
you're going to jail because you have your cell phone with you. Here's the next one. Little known fact, snow is really slippery. That one's way too sarcastic to be funny.
Disagree.
You like that one?
Colorado should use that one. I like that.
All right, how about this one? Be protected, not projected. Buckle up.
Too complicated.
Too complicated?
Bad play on words. Not a fan.
And the last one that was picked by Maine's DOT, keep in mind, moose eyes don't shine. I didn't know. Is that a real thing? Do moose eyes not shine?
Apparently not. I didn't know that.
Winners got prizes like passes to Maine's state parks, tickets to the
Penobscot
Narrows Bridge, and how do you say that again?
Penobscot.
Okay. You've been there?
I haven't been.
Or you just know about the bridge?
So I know Maine. I haven't been to all the towns in Maine like I have to with Vermont, New Hampshire. But I mean, Maine's got all those fun Native American names for their towns.
And it's kind of like I've been listening a lot to the Hawaii volcano deal.
Okay.
And all the names of when you're watching the reporters from Hawaii speak in Hawaiian with all the real pronunciations, not us mainlanders trying to pronounce those Hawaiian names. And they're good. There's no way I could ever do this job there.
Okay.
Ever. Anyway, they won a bunch of prizes, got their own personalized street sign. I want to look over the others that weren't picked because I'm confident there were some real gems in there.
I would agree with that. Probably some things that are much more inappropriate, too.
Oh, yeah,
At least I would hope
that would be fantastic. There always are killjoys in stories like this. One guy said, gimmicks are fun, but could the MDOT please keep these signs for just an emergency information? They say that a text will take your eyes off the road long enough to travel the length of a football field. These are often ×2 screens, big screens, just to find out it's useless information. Sort of looks like the cause of distracted driving. I'd like the info that there is an accident ahead to slow down, not that something is wishing me a happy holiday. Well, people are like that.
Why? Like, why?
Because
why?
people are killjoys.
That's
because
terrible.
people are people. That's why.
What a sad life, commenting on the Maine Department of Transportation Facebook page.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That's terrible, man.
What else do you have to do in Maine except find some lobsters?
The lobsters there are cheap. If they had lobsters for the same price in Denver that they do in Maine, oh my goodness, I'd be eating good in the neighborhood.
That's why we have steak out here.
That's true. That's
Coming up, getting a ticket for eating breakfast in the wrong spot, that and so much more as the Driving You Crazy podcast continues.
Hidalgo, and you're listening to the Driving You Crazy podcast with Jason Luber.
You know, if they're a breaking news junkie and they like to see reality and watch a family on TV and not something boring that's going to put you to sleep, I would say tune in to Channel 7. I mean, we're the first ones on breaking news. We have a very accurate weather forecast. We have very good traffic information from you. We have good anchors that work well together, and by watching it and getting to know everybody on air, you feel like you're part of the family.
Daryl Orr, only on Denver 7.
My favorite person to work with on the morning show. I mean, I like you can't do that to me.
I just did.
I like everybody for different reasons. I have to say that Lisa and I have definitely formed a really fun bond. Of course, you know, anything with Lisa is highly entertaining. If you've ever ridden with her in a car, it's slightly terrifying. I think the first time I went to Core Power with her, she was telling me how she had gotten in an accident, and then coincidentally, as she was parking, she got in another accident as we were outside of Core Power. So we have gotten to know each other really well and definitely formed a great friendship.
Molly Hendrickson, only on Denver 7.
Welcome back to the world-famous Driving You Crazy podcast with me, Jason, him, Joseph, and we've been talking Maine, New Hampshire, and lobsters.
lobsters.
I haven't hit New Hampshire, Vermont, or Maine. So.
Well, I mean, there's not much to see in New Hampshire. But Vermont and Maine are great. Rent a very nice car and just drive up, like, the coast of Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts and just, like, hit all of the beach towns. It's perfect.
But the water's cold, right?
It
Like
depends
the
on where
ocean
you
water?
are. Like, there's a little pocket there, so it's warmer in some places than others.
Love the lobsters.
Cheap lobsters. Got to fly out to Maine, man.
Yeah, I never really got to the lobster thing. I can't say lobster because it's not part of my culture.
Well, it's a Colorado thing, and I was going to bring this up before the break, but you said steak, and steak is the lobster of Colorado.
Yes, it is. We have lots and lots of steak out here. That's because it's ranching country.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Everyone knows what it's like to wake up late for work, right? Forced to choose between a half-assed breakfast during the commute or just skip the meal entirely. Well, one brave Australian woman chose to reject that false dichotomy, opting instead to enjoy a lovely bowl of cereal behind the wheel of her car. The problem for her is that the law has come to punish her for her innovative thinking. Now, according to the report, some snitch, known only as Matt, of course a guy named Matt would snitch. Thanks, Matt. Spotted a woman in a gray Hyundai driving erratically. Though he assumed she was texting, it became clear as he pulled up alongside that the woman behind the wheel was actually up to something far more bizarre. She was balancing a bowl of cereal with one hand while spooning her breakfast in her mouth with the other and steering with her legs. I can do that.
Well, and that's the funny thing, is that if you've ever met somebody who does that, they always say, oh, yeah, I do it all the time. It's fine.
That's fine.
No problem. And you're watching them drive with their knee, and you're like, I mean, you're not fine. Like,
Oh,
you're
yeah, no, we're
but
fine.
you're not fine.
Oh, no, my little girl says, Daddy, are you driving with your knees? Yeah, sure am. No problem.
That is the ultimate fine but not fine situation.
Well, perplexed by the sight, Matt snapped a photo and sent it to a radio station. Of course, why wouldn't you send it into a radio station? From there, the incident came to the attention of the Western Australia's police commissioner, and he said, you can't be driving a car and eating your brekkie at the same time. Isn't that so Australian?
We were just talking about how Australia is a gem, and that's why, Brecky.
He said on an appearance on the radio station, because they were talking about this woman eating breakfast, so he said it's just dangerous. He vowed to mobilize police resources and track down that offending driver. And he added, whatever charge we can apportion that driver, we will. This is a serious matter, and we will follow up. It's incomprehensible.
It is incomprehensible. Why did you get cereal? There are so many bars, burritos, like other options available to you, and you opted for the food that is the most difficult to eat while behind the wheel.
All right, I'm letting you in on something here. So there are times that we've run out of milk at my house, okay? And I love my bowl of cereal in the morning. Love it. Just makes my... So what I do sometimes, it's rare, it's maybe a couple times a year. Anyhow, what I'll do is I'll load up my bowl of cereal with the spoon, and I'll go to the grocery store or the 7-Eleven, whatever's open at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll get that little quart of, maybe not what it's, a pint or whatever, a pint of milk, and I'll go in there, I'll just buy my little pint of milk at 3 in the morning, dressed in my tie, and I'll sit in the parking lot and I'll eat my cereal. Now, I won't drive and eat the cereal.
Well, I mean...
I'm sitting in the parking lot, but I'm still waiting for a policeman to show up and go, what are you doing? Eating cereal in a parking lot at 3 o'clock in the morning?
I just want you to know you told this whole story, which does not compare to this woman's situation because you admit that you're not driving. You're just telling me that you sometimes eat cereal in parking lots at 3 in the morning.
That is true. But I relate to this woman because I could, at least I'm stopped, but I'm in the car. I could be driving using the whole leg technique, but I decide just to park because it's easier for me.
Let me tell you, I think you might find it more efficient to open the quart of milk while driving, take a handful of the cereal, put that in the mouth, and just mix it right there, and then drink the milk.
You know, it'd be even better if you could take the dry cereal and then take the milk and then pour it into a blender and then blend it all up, and then you can drink it on the way.
So they make that. If you're looking for cereal milk, that is a thing.
No, I don't want cereal. I mean, I want to make my own. You know, like the Hidalgo and what's his bucket, Mitch. He's got. They have these whatever they are, these little mixer deals.
Yes.
Right.
Ninjas, right?
Is that what it is? I don't
know.
Okay. So anyway, they put whatever healthy thing they want to put in there, and they take it down to a little blender, and they blend it up, and they're drinking something.
Do you know what they put in it? Because I'm always looking for new smoothie recipes.
No, they have a smoothie. They have the cup, and then they take it down to this blender thing. I don't know what they do. I don't know. Look, I am not the picture-perfect person of health.
Well, and smoothies are not necessarily the most healthy thing in the world. That's why I was asking, because Mitch, I mean, if he's just putting peanut butter and spinach into a blender and mixing it up, that's not, first of all, that's not very good, but it's also not that healthy.
And if you're not putting rum in it, then I don't want it.
Preach.
Well, anyway, police did track down this woman.
Mitch does put rum in his, by the way.
She's 19 years old, and police charged her with a $300 ticket and placed 3 demerit points on her license for, quote, driving without due care and attention. That's a thing.
Well, good.
So let that be a lesson to any of you cereal enthusiasts out there who have to drive to work and eat.
We should start a GoFundMe for her ticket.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have to. I mean, like, why are we prosecuting this woman? Isn't she being prosecuted?
Because it was
in
a
court of public opinion?
serious offense there.
She's been publicly humiliated.
Yeah, she was. And the police commissioner called the radio station to chime in.
Terrible.
Stay home. Eat that bowl of Fruit Loops. Wait to get to work to eat them. Do not do it while you're driving. And speaking of driving down under, there's something that you'll never hear about. The government lowering fines for something. The city council in Sydney, Australia, is lowering the parking fines in the city. They say it's an attempt to take a simpler and fairer approach to parking fines, and fines are going to be cut by about 25%. So here are some of the parking fines that will be reduced. Parking continuously for longer than permitted, parking after a meter is expired, stopping in a restricted parking area, and parking without paying the meter at all. It means the current $110 Australian dollar penalty for those infractions will be reduced to $80. So the city of Sydney collects now about 35 million Australian dollars in fines.
Okay.
That's remarkable to me. That seems like a lot of money.
Maybe they're going to just up enforcement.
Maybe they are, but they're going to be giving up about $9 million by doing this.
Well, they may have done the calculation that they can make up the $9 million by stronger enforcement, too.
Maybe.
We'll see. I mean, maybe not.
But you never really hear of them always charging less. You always hear them charging more.
Well, in a city like Sydney that has, I mean, not exactly inexpensive real estate, it's surprising that they would take this kind of approach.
And another interesting story here in Metro Denver is the issue with those little scooters that you just can't get away from.
There's no issue with the scooters. The scooters are the issue.
We've talked about this where we have these companies.
Happy to talk about it again.
That have these little scooters that you just basically pick up and start using, and then you can just leave it wherever.
Correct. That's exactly what they are.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do with them. Now, the city says you can't just leave them lying around wherever you're going. You just can't leave them there, and they're going to confiscate them. They've actually confiscated, about a half a dozen of them so far.
Is that it?
That's what they say.
Okay.
Maybe they don't have people out there just actively looking. If they see one, maybe they'll pick it up. But wouldn't a better way be having, let's say, a little corral? Like, they have those bike deals, right? The rent the bike thing.
Well, so yes.
Why can't they have a little corral around those bike things?
No, so here's the thing: is that if I'm coming here, if I'm just stopping at the Circle 7, where's the closest corral? It's 3 blocks away, so that defeats the purpose. I'm trying to get here quicker, and then you're adding a 3-block walk. So that's
isn't that the same thing for the bike deal, or is it okay to ride the bike longer distances and then leave it at the corral 3 blocks away and then walk here?
Well, you can leave it at whatever corral, but the point is that you're not solving the last mile if you can't take the mode of transportation directly to your destination.
Well, that's the same with the bikes.
But here's the thing with Uber. It drops you off at where you're going. It doesn't drop you off at a corral 3 blocks away where all the Uber drivers congregate. And so they're trying to replicate that with these scooters. And so I respect that strategy. The problem is that there's just no infrastructure for these scooters, and the infrastructure that they're using, they're damn dangerous on.
Yeah.
You got idiots untrained on scooters on public sidewalks that are barely big enough for 2 people. What? What world is this?
Well, it's the world where people just start throwing scooters down on the street and say, "Go ahead and use it."
But that's what exactly.
That's exactly.
We live in a world where some company can just drop 500 scooters in the middle of Denver and say, "Have fun, kids."
Exactly.
Don't break them.
I like how it's another choice. I like how it's a option that you can just pick one up and go. What keeps people from stealing these darn things?
Money.
Does it have like a GPS thing in it?
There's a shutdown. Yeah, no. If you
because they're not electric, are they? I mean, you actually kick them going, right?
Well, no, but there is a motor in them and there is a lock on them, right? So they can lock it down with a brake that prevents you from using it if you steal it.
Well, I've never used one, so I don't.
So
I haven't
but that's
even
what
seen
it is. Yeah.
All right. But maybe the city needs just to ease up a little bit and figure this out with this company, because it's another good option. But it also would run down people like you.
Well, that's just it. They do need to figure it out because this is a great option, and I've been really shocked at how many people have been using them.
Because you are the pedestrian advocate, not the scooter laying everywhere in the street advocate.
I was so ready to be anti these scooters 100%, and after seeing them in action for a couple of weeks, I've come around. I mean, I think it's a really good idea, and I think we need to find a way to make them work in this city. The problem is, again, infrastructure, and there needs to be some rules printed on these scooters that say you need to be in bike lanes when available. You need to be in the road if there's no side. You know what I mean? Like, just some way to keep them safer than they currently are, because, again, not everybody's going to follow the rules, but you got too many people out here who are like zigzagging on a sidewalk, and there are people trying to get around.
Maybe they need to have some little speaker on there, so when you start it up, it actually starts yelling at you instructions and warnings and how to ride the darn thing.
I just made all these complaints. It probably says that in the app, right? Like the app probably says, hey, you're supposed to ride like this.
So are you going to become now the scooter advocate?
No.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, maybe,
but
or no.
I'd rather see these scooters laying around than all the homeless camps like down on 23rd.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think what's funny is the people who aren't using them necessarily for transportation, but just because they're fun.
Oh, yeah.
Like the drunks at the bar who they gather 6 scooters and they're racing each other.
Hey, hold my beer, watch this.
Well, no, and I've heard about a couple, like down on 16th Street, I've heard about at least one scooter drag race in the middle of the street. So, that's an unintended consequence when you have as many bars as you have in this city, that somebody's going to do something wrong at some point.
That's perfect. Well, do you know anybody who actually likes their driver's license picture on their driver's license? I don't like mine.
Maybe.
I'm not very a fan of it. It's okay.
I still have long hair in mine, like long hair in mine.
I've seen people that actually, what they'll do is they'll change their appearance just for their driver's license picture. But if you were able to, let's say, take another one, if you didn't like the first one, wouldn't that be all right? To have like a couple shots at it?
You should have a headshot person at the DMV.
Well, listen to this. There's a state legislator in California who wants to offer drivers a second shot at getting the photo just right. What he's done is introduced a bill that will allow drivers to take multiple photos at their DMV if they didn't like the first one. But if they want to take more than the one, they'll have to pay a fee to do that.
Genius.
Right there.
Genius. Oh.
Also, it will allow drivers to get a photo taken off-site, and then you can give that photo to the DMV like you would
Like
when
a
you get your
headshot.
passport,
Yeah.
right? And then you can have that put on your license. And again, it would cost you a fee. And that fee, all that money that would be collected, would actually go to driver's education classes in like secondary schools for the kids, for like all those high schools that have lost driver's ed. I took driver's ed when I was in high school, but a lot of those schools have canceled driver's ed because it costs too much money to operate those programs. So that's where this money would go to.
I don't care where the money's going. I just want to be able to pick my picture for my driver's license.
It could be a
Let's
little
be honest
dangerous,
here.
though, right?
Well, I think it's an excuse for the photographer at the DMV to like slip the finger the first time. And then you look at the picture and you're like, oh my God, I need another one of these. And they're like, well, that's going to cost you $50, sir.
Cha-ching.
Sorry about that.
Well, and Delaware might have a better plan to solve the issue.
Oh, good.
They want to be the first state to use digital driver's licenses. So the Delaware Division of Motor Vehicles, they have launched this mobile driver's license pilot study. It's running for about 6 months, and it's going to include about 200 state employees. Now, these electronic licenses will have enhanced privacy for age verification, so that really they say there's no need to show your address on your license when you're showing what your age is if you're trying to get to a bar or whatever the case may be. The license will also allow law enforcement to ping your driver's smartphone. So if you're driving and your electronic license is on your phone, the officer, let's say he pulls you over, will be able to ping your smartphone and request the driver's license information before even getting out of their vehicle to walk up to you and ask you, can I see your license and registration, please? That is a touch creepy.
I mean, we're one step away from, California wants to offer you the opportunity to implant your license into your hand.
Yeah.
They'll just scan it when they come by to pull you over.
The mobile driver's license is accessed through an app on your smartphone. And they say it would be accessible, though, by only the license holder. It's open and unlocked by entering a PIN, or it could be done by the facial recognition, that sort of thing. Same
Right.
thing, it's on your phone.
Yep.
I like it except for the part where the police can read it before they come see me. Not that I'm doing anything wrong, but it just pokes me the wrong way.
But that is the whole point, right? Is to make it easier for cops to track down your information. And realistically, are any of the state employees in this pilot study ever going to have to pull out their license for any reason?
Probably not.
You know, I mean, we're not seeing this thing in practice yet. Imagine when those licenses are attached to, your garden variety criminals.
Now I have a copy on my phone. Now what I've done is just taken a picture of it. So I have a picture. I have a folder on my phone because I have this app that's this business card app.
Okay.
And so it takes pictures of business cards and it puts all the information in the app, right? Well, it can also just take a picture of something like a driver's license or whatever. Instead of putting the information like you would from a business card, you can just hold the picture. So it's kind of hidden. It's not like you're just looking through my pictures and there's my driver's license.
Okay.
But I have pictures. I have my driver's license, Gina's. I have my kids' passports, my passport stuff. So in case we're out and whatever, and you need that information, at least you have it.
Yep.
It's actually come in handy a couple of times to have that information.
Okay.
So I'm kind of there, but not quite there all the way.
No, this is an app on your phone that replaces your driver's license, and nothing about that makes me feel comfortable. It's the difference between like why you feel more comfortable hoarding cash in a safe in your house versus keeping it in a bank account, right? Because you know the cash is there, but the bank account could just vanish one day, and what are you going to do about it?
It's like all those Bitcoins I have, Ripple coins,
Ripple coins,
Kin coins.
So did you get bacon coins?
No, I don't have bacon. I have Kin, Ripple, Ethereum. I think I have Bitcoin Cash. Anyway.
Our Bitcoin podcast coming shortly.
And from driver's licenses and Bitcoins to license plates. Because they pretty much stayed the same since they were invented. I mean, they're basically just metal things,
Yep.
Stamped letters in them. You stick the registration sticker in the corner, and that's pretty much it. Well, there's a new idea out there to make the license plate electronic as well. The city of Sacramento is trying one out, the new digital display. It's basically a board. It looks like a license plate right now, but it allows for changeable messages that can be controlled by the driver or can be controlled remotely by, let's say, a fleet manager. And
so for a taxi, right? Or
well,
for
like
the
a
city?
taxi, or for a city, or let's say like this, like for us, if we have all of our license plates for a fleet.
Well, and you don't need a front plate in Cali, right? I mean,
yeah, you do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah, you do. But this would be, I think, for the front. I don't know if it's for the front and back. It's definitely for one side of the plates, and it's a computer technology basically that's being used. That's similar to those Kindle ebook readers.
Okay.
And they come with their own computer chips and their own battery. And if you choose to buy one of these plates, you register your vehicle electronically. And so you don't really need to go to the DMV. And you don't even have to stick the plates on or stick any stickers on the plates because it's all electronic right there. They also might be able to display personal messages, which is kind of cool, if the DMV ever allowed to do that. So wouldn't that be a cool way to, hey, back off my butt while you're driving too close to me, or
yes,
hey, I got a flat tire, so move over a lane. Or
my vision for this is that like you would be able to purchase different skins for your license plate, right? So instead of selling you one vanity plate, now they can sell you 15 vanity plates, and you can collect all the vanity plates and cycle through them, and they can make a fortune off of you.
And here's one interesting way they say they can use the plates. If the car is stolen, the plate can tell the owner and the police exactly where the car is, and the plate can flash a message that says stolen, so other drivers that see it know to call police.
Because the first thing the guy is going to do is not take the plate off.
Exactly.
Like, oh my God, there's an iPad that's telling everybody this car is stolen. Leave it. Why not?
So Sacramento, the city there, they took a shipment of 24 of these plates for its in-house vehicle fleet. Now, these plates are a little bit more expensive, obviously, than a regular license plate. They're sold for $700. And if you were going to buy, let's say it goes everywhere, you would get them from a dealership for $700, and then you would have to get it installed. I guess I don't know if you install it the same way. There would probably be an
installation fee too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there is. And then there's a monthly fee of $7.
Get out of here!
Of course,
a monthly fee for a license plate?
That's what our life has turned into.
Are
monthly
you kidding
fees.
me?
No, that's my life.
Kidding me?
My life is all about monthly fees.
Sacramento can get the heck out of here.
Now the plates, you can't get them right now through the DMV, and some drivers are wondering if it's going to be a privacy issue, if they're going to track you.
It sounds like a privacy issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because right now for most fleets, when you work for like a company like this and you drive a company vehicle, you would give up your right for them to track you. I mean, that's what they do already with trucks.
Yep.
With a lot of fleet management, they already track where the cars, and I mean they do that with the buses, and they do that with a lot of fleets already.
Yeah, I know. Okay, but so if Sacramento approves this in 2020, and then what? 2023, we learn that Sacramento's been tracking everything to figure out which neighborhoods are the most exciting, or something stupid like that. You know, like when you can track people, people track people.
But most of the interest in these so far has been from companies with fleets or businesses that might want to advertise their business on, let's say, little mini billboards that are always driving around. Really, that's what they would turn into be.
So my self-driving car that goes to pick people up and makes money for me.
Yep.
And it shows them advertising inside the car while I have guests, so that makes money for me. And now there's also a license plate on the outside of my car that I can sell sponsorships for.
That's why I had a problem with that courier service, that Quick Deliver, whatever the heck, it was Quicksilver. Because they wanted me to work there, and I took their driving test. They wanted to hire me, but they said I would have to go to a place to get real. I mean, like these the Quicksilver logo, and then this number or whatever stenciled. That wasn't stenciled. I guess it was these letters that actually were stuck onto the side of the truck, my little pickup truck at the time. And I said, "You're crazy," because I'm not going to put that on my car all the time when I'm not working for you all the time. I can only do it when I'm working for you.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm going to charge you. And I told them this. I said, well, if you do that, then I'm going to charge you for all the time that I'm driving off of work, because it'll be advertising for you, and I'll charge you that advertising money. And this is, it's just somebody was, the manager person, whatever, staring back at me, just blinking.
Couldn't believe that you weren't excited to put the Quicksilver logo on the side
I know,
of your car.
just blinking at me.
What?
And I'm like, yeah, because I'm sure nobody else had to say that to him.
You're one of a kind, man.
You're not kidding. Well, that's about it for the podcast this week. Thanks for being here. If you want to reach out, you can always get us on the Twitter or on the Facebook or the whatevers, all that kind of stuff. And then give us a review on the iTunes. Check us out on the YouTube. I have a YouTube link now that go to the podcast. Well, at least most of them. Some of them.
A few.
It's too long. It's too
handful.
Man, it's. I started about episode 70 or whatever it is, and trying to upload those things. It's a chore.
Yes, sir.
Real chore. Anyway, thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I'm Jason Luber, the traffic guy.
I'm vomit enthusiast Joseph Peters.
Be safe. I know you're not. Be safe, and as always, happy motoring.